Booktube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. I am here with my second Shaketember video. I guess my third if you count my review of Hamlet adaptations with Jason. Shaketember is our month-long celebration on Booktube where we celebrate all things Shakespeare. And I am a host of this event along with Nicole at A Day of Small Things and my husband Jason of Old Blues Chapter and Verse. And we are delighted at how many people are participating this year and joining in. So it's always great to see new people. I would love to know if you've read Twelfth Night, what you think of it down below in the comment section. As always, if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, you can leave an emoji or give this video a thumbs up. I want to start off by saying I'm doing a couple experimental things in this video, so I don't know how they're exactly going to work out. You'll just have to bear with me on that. But I also want to let you know I'm spoiling everything. For me, I don't really mind Shakespeare being spoiled the way I do about novels. I find that if I know kind of the story, what I'm getting into, it's okay. But if you are in the thick of Twelfth Night right now and you're not sure how things are all going to turn out, how things are going to shake out in the end, by all means, feel free to come back to this video or just tell me on another video, any video at all of mine. It doesn't matter. You can tell me your thoughts about Twelfth Night on any video of mine. So the reason I picked Twelfth Night this year, I haven't read Twelfth Night since 2019. That was the first time I read it. I had seen a film adaptation, which is excellent. It's got Helena Bonham Carter, Toby Stephens in it. It's not set in Shakespeare's time, but it's not a contemporary retelling either. So I will link to the trailer for that down below. But I read it in 2019, and which was the second year I had participated in Shaketember. It was called Shaketember back then. The reason why I chose it this year was Jason needed to watch a comfort movie, and so he was watching Shakespeare in Love, which again I'm about to spoil. So I'm gonna, like I said, everything will be spoiled in this video. I've seen this movie many times. But at the very end of the film, Queen Elizabeth requests something for Twelfth Night, and Gwyneth Paltrow's character, whose name is Viola, tells this to Shakespeare, played by Joseph Fiennes, and so they talk about how the play starts. That there's a shipwreck. Gwyneth Paltrow's character says, "Oh, there should be a duke. His name's Orsino," and Shakespeare says, "Oh, good name," kind of thing. Anyway, and so I just thought, what the heck? Like, we should read Twelfth Night again this year. When reviewing Shakespeare, it's very tricky because I feel like everything that could be said has already been said, and yet there's always more to say. That's why we go back and we reread these plays, because different things jump out at us. It's such a rich and layered text. There's so much humor, especially in Twelfth Night. There's a lot of things that, reading the play, some of the raunchy humor. And again, if you saw a great production of it, hopefully those actors would convey that humor to you as well. I did, because I've been inspired by so many of you for picking up Shakespeare, The Invention of the Human by Harold Bloom. I have conflicted feelings about Harold Bloom, but this is a really excellent reference, and he talks about all of Shakespeare's plays individually in here. And so I read, I think there's about 20 pages about Twelfth Night, and he had some really interesting things to say, things I hadn't thought of. People are still finding Twelfth Night on Booktube. People are still reading it, still talking about it. It's still being performed. I'm going to talk about relationships in Twelfth Night, and I'm going to use my brand new little whiteboard. We're going to see this works out. But part of me feels like if I draw out, it will really convey the absurdity of the relationships in Twelfth Night. Now, whether these relationships are love, are lust, are infatuation, I would love to know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Okay, here we go. Here's my little 12th night board. So we have Duke Orsino. We have Olivia, who's a countess, and her brother has just died, and she's sworn she's going to be in mourning for 7 years. Feste is the fool or clown, if you will, in this particular play of Shakespeare's. It's always really, really important to pay attention to the fools in Shakespeare, because they often know more. They are often the wisest characters. Harold Bloom argues that he's the only character in this play who isn't absolutely crazy. The play starts with a shipwreck, and there's a pair of twins on the ship, Viola and Sebastian, and they land, they crash up on the shore in different spots. They don't think the other one is alive. So we have Olivia, who's grieving for a brother that she actually has lost, and Viola, who is thinking that she's lost her brother, her twin, no less. So Viola dresses up like a boy, another familiar Shakespeare thing. At the very start of the play, our Duke Orsino swears that he is completely madly in love with Olivia. I don't know how long this has been going on. Twelfth Night itself as a play takes place over the place of 3 months, we're told by one of the characters in the last act. And so that gives me a little more hope. It's hard to tell sometimes, I think, when reading a play, the passage of time. Jason and I were talking about how in a movie, maybe you could do a montage of him falling in love with her or whatever to make it maybe more believable. But I think he's in love with the idea of being in love. Or maybe Illyria, where this takes place, which I actually think is Croatia, maybe? I'm not sure. Anyway, Illyria, I mean, maybe she's a countess, so maybe he feels like she's the only one he really can marry on the little island. Anyway, so Viola dresses up like a boy and goes to the Duke's court. And, I'd like to believe that Viola has a little more common sense than some of the other characters in Twelfth Night. But she falls in love with the Duke. And then the Duke, because he thinks Viola is a boy, right? I mean, they would have never been able to spend so much time alone together if he hadn't believed that she was a boy. And so he has Viola go see Olivia to try to woo her for him. And so Viola goes to see Olivia, and Olivia falls in love with Viola, not knowing that she's a girl, not a boy. And there's a great line, I love it so much. Olivia actually gives a ring to Viola, and it's kind of muddled, like it's sort of like, oh, you left this ring behind or whatever, and Viola's like, I didn't leave a ring behind. And then she realizes that Olivia has fallen in love with her. And she says, I am the man. I love it. I love it so much. Anyway, so meanwhile, I don't know what's going on over here. Like Sebastian meets up, he's rescued by Antonio, And it takes them essentially 3 months to get to where all these other people are. Now, Malvolio is the steward of Olivia, and he's a bit pompous, a bit of a butthead, but he wants to marry Olivia. And meanwhile, Maria is Olivia's lady in waiting, and Sir Toby is related to Olivia. He calls her niece, but that term was like a little bit looser in Shakespeare's day, so they're related somehow, but don't know exactly how. And Sir Toby has 2 friends, Fabian and Sir Andrew. And these, I tried to draw, I don't have brown, you guys, so it's supposed to be a beer mug. But anyway, so these four, excuse me, write a letter in Olivia's hand. They write, Maria can mimic her handwriting really well. And they write a letter and leave it for Malvolio to find and tell him that, implying that Olivia is in love with Malvolio. And of course, he is in love with her. And I do believe that because he's been working for her for a long time. But anyway, in the letter, it says that she wants him to, wear yellow stockings cross-gartered, which that's what that would kind of look like. Those, laces wrapped around these stockings, and to smile a lot, which Malvolio doesn't. He's pretty grumpy. It's a pretty grumpy character. And they all think this is a great joke. But Maria would also like to have Malvolio, out of the house, that sort of thing. And Maria's a bit of a social climber as well. So what happens? So all of this, you guys, is set up in the first 2 acts. And then in Act 5, we have one scene where everything comes to a head, right? Everything comes to a head, and everyone is revealed for who they are. Sir Toby and Maria get married. And again, I do think that's a real relationship. At least Maria knows what she's getting into with Sir Toby. His last name is Belch. But they know, she knows him well enough to know what she's getting into, but it will be her moving up the social ladder. Poor Malvolio, who I really, again, I think he does love Olivia. Olivia, of course, does not love Malvolio. But when they realize that Viola is a girl, before that happens, Olivia comes across Sebastian and thinks it's Viola, who I should have written. So Viola goes by Cesario. That's her boy name. For almost the entire play, we don't actually hear her called Viola, I think, until the very end. But anyway, Olivia comes across Sebastian thinking it's Cesario, and the 2 of them get married. And again, I question what kind of marriage will that be? Do they really love each other? They don't even really know each other. I mean, and Olivia is under the impression that, just because they're twins, it doesn't mean like they're exactly the same. They're exactly the same thing. Orsino then realizes, Olivia has married somebody else. But right before that, he gets so upset at finding out that Olivia is in love with Cesario, aka Viola, that he actually says he's going to kill her. And he's going to slaughter her like a lamb. And she goes along with it, which I, again, find a little disturbing. And so, finally this love goes both ways when they, ooh, that's a beautiful line. Anyway, so there's reciprocated love there, but again, and yeah, it just, Duke Orsino is just very changeable. I think he's in love with the idea of being in love. He doesn't want to be alone, maybe. The thing that gives me hope about their relationship and going forward is the fact that they have spent 3 months hanging out together, and spending time together that, again, if she were a single woman, they would not be allowed to do. And so I'm hoping that the fact that their relationship started out as a friendship will help them as a married couple. And then the one relationship that I totally believed was that Antonio loves Sebastian. And I don't know what that love means, if that's like a homosexual love, or if it's just a deep bond, some kind of connection. But Antonio not only saves Sebastian's life, but helps him to get to where the Duke is, and goes to great risks because the Duke has it out for Antonio and wants him to be, imprisoned or killed because of some skirmish that they've had. But I really felt like Antonio loved Sebastian. I can believe that Maria ran off with Sir Toby Belch and eloped. I believe that Malvolio loves Olivia in his own way, although not at the end. By the time this whole joke has played out, he's quite upset. And Orsino advises Olivia to make peace with him. And in the meanwhile, Feste is just kind of wandering around and seeing what's happened. Some people think that Feste knows that Viola is actually a she, not a he. He has some great songs, and he's actually Olivia's fool, jester, whatever you want to say. But he also goes to the Duke's place and sings these sad songs, because the Duke is just, Olivia, throughout the play. But anyway, I think when you have all the lines drawn around, it gets, you realize kind of the absurdity of it all, right? Which I love. I love that about Twelfth Night. Time around, I was just really focused on the relationships. Who's gonna have a relationship that's actually gonna work? And I'm not so sure about all of them. Twelfth Night itself, so it's a holiday. It's 12 days after Christmas. So it kind of signals the end of reveling and partying and whooping it up since Christmas. And I think Twelfth Night, the play, is a good way to end something like that, right? It's just so kind of madcap and crazy that it seems like, okay, we've got that out of our system, and now we will go back. Now we will turn to our regular lives and move on from there. I thought a lot about clothing this time while I was reading it. Olivia is veiled for part of the play, and there's the cross gartering socks and Viola's costume as a boy, as a young man, and the clothes do play a pretty big part actually in Twelfth Night. And of course the twins, and I'm not sure what was going on with Shakespeare's twins when he was writing this, but he definitely has sort of an obsession with twins. There's lots of twins in Shakespeare's plays. I think of everybody in this play. These center people here have the most fun, the most the most silly humor. I mean, Sir Toby's just basically taking advantage of Sir Andrew. They have lots of jokes together, and I think Feste has a good time taking coins from people and, you know, sort of just roving around and seeing what's going on. And he has a beautiful, beautiful song at the very end. If I can find the version I like, I will link to that down below. But again, I'd love to hear, what do you think of the madness of Twelfth Night? And what are some things that you really thought about this time as you were reading it or watching it? Is there a favorite film adaptation of it for you, or a stage production that maybe you saw? I know some of you are either seeing it this month or saw it this summer, so I'd love to hear more about that as well. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to talking to you in the comments section. Booktube, remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.